Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of the North Star podcast. Today is going to be a solo podcast. It's just going to be me talking today. I wanted to do a solo podcast for episode 20 because I just wanted to go over my journey so far with the podcasting, and also just talk about why I started. So this one's going to be a lot shorter than the other ones. I'm really excited for episode 21. It's going to be a really good episode. It's a good start to the 20s. So 21 is going to be a great podcast. It's going to be cool to hear the individual story and how they got to where they are today. But I got some really good podcasts coming out with some professionals in different fields that I haven't actually talked to quite yet. We will go for 2 episodes, 22 and 23, which I will be filming pretty soon, and we will be chatting a lot about different aspects of health, but also to just business and how to go about business and how to implement different strategies depending on the business model. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm also having another podcast coming where it's going to be chatting about in regards to specifics on certain gut health, also too in regards to hormones, with one of my good friends that is a professional in that field. So I don't want to give away too much right now just because there's going to be a good amount of information in those. And I would say my goal for the rest of the year would be to have around 25 to 30 podcasts. So again, this is episode 20, so another 5 to 10 for the year. That's the goal to kind of finish off 2024. I got into podcasting because I'm just going to kind of shift a little bit and talk about my journey with podcasting and how it all got started. But a year ago, I had actually filmed 3 episodes, so I was really wanting to get into it, and the individual that was helping me, unfortunately, they had moved away, so I wasn't able to get help with the setup of the camera, the mics, things like that. And a year after that, I actually posted episode 4, so it was pretty cool. Episode 3 was done, and then a year later, literally almost to the day, crazy, I didn't even know that until looking at it, episode 4 was posted. So since then, this year, we're now again, like I said, episode 20, and I've had a ton of different guests, ton of different variety, and my goal with the podcast are just to really get good information out to the public and to people that I trust. A lot of these people, if not all of them actually, are people that I've had a relationship with a while, and I've seen what they've been able to do with their business, or I've seen what they've been able to do with their journey, or I've been able to see what they've been able to do with their lifestyle. And in that regards, I really thought it was really cool to be able to actually have them come on and chat about their journey, chat about how they got to where they were, chat about the differences and the struggles that they've had as an individual. I've also had some clients on the podcasts. So my goal for it is just to provide different fields of information and different value to people within this space, but also to provide enough value for different avenues and different businesses. I do plan on doing doubles with people, going back to doing a second podcast as I see fit through the different individuals that I have and some ideas. I already have a good idea for December. I have a guest that's going to come back on, and we're going to chat on different topics of fitness and resolutions and different things like that. So that's going to be exciting to film that as well. And overall, the big picture for me here with the podcast is just to keep going, keep providing value, keep posting them every 2 weeks, and going from there. I really enjoy podcasting. It's something that I've adapted to understand that's something that is kind of like my passion project right now. Podcasting is not something that is giving anything to me money wise. Like I don't make anything. If anything, I actually end up losing more money hiring people to help me with this. But the point of me podcasting is just to provide value to you guys, to try to get as much information as I can, and from the people I respect and the people that I think also bring value to this world, to my community. So that's my big picture with this. The reason we went with the North Star podcast was actually the individual, you've seen him before on a few podcasts. His name is Calvin. He actually came up with the name. It kind of has to tie in with Up North Athletics, so we wanted to have a good theme. Eventually, the goal would be to also make some kind of shirts or merchandise with the North Star podcast. Currently, I do some stuff with Up North Athletics, but it'd be really cool to kind of collab the two, and I have a different logo for each. So that is how it became the name it is. If you listen back to the first 3 episodes, it was called the No Name Podcast. I had no name for it quite yet, so it's really cool to look back and see the fruition of the podcast and how they've grown and the amount of people that have seen them so far, and just the support. I just really value that there's people out there that are willing to listen to them and willing to take some information from them and be able to share their story and share the value that they have been able to learn from other people in this industry, not just the fitness, but any aspect industry, if that's someone's story or their business. So that's the kind of gist of the podcast. I'm just going to talk a little bit about my goals right now, specific, as this is episode 20 of me. So there's been people asking me kind of what my goals are for fitness, or my goals for business, or my goals for just life in general. Currently, right now, as I'm filming this, I am going into what you would consider, quote unquote, a fat loss phase. It's been about 4 to 5 weeks that I've been doing it. So when this comes out, though, it'll be longer just because of how the filming process of everything is going. But my goal is to get to a body fat percentage that I feel comfortable with. I am not someone who is worrying so much about their weight right now. I don't really care how much I weigh, and what I mean by that is, obviously, there's a specific number if I hit, it would be too much for me, but at the end of the day too, I'm more going just for a look and a feel, rather than what the scale says. I also am incorporating a lot more weightlifting than I have in the past. The last 4 years, I've really taken a step back with my fitness just because I've been pursuing more my business and pursuing other aspects that I've kind of neglected it. And this time around, with how I've shifted things with my semi-personal training, with becoming a part owner of the Fitness Lab, the Stave location, and shifting myself with the podcast and some other aspects that I'm working towards, actually coming into September, is I'm just looking forward to being able to have a shift where I can now prioritize my goals and work on my specifics as an individual again, when it comes to my physical goals and my quote unquote fitness goals. Just because I think the big thing here, and this is a explanation that I want to let people know on how things shift, but sometimes you're gonna take a step back in one goal to pursue another one. And once you've pursued that one goal and you've made it a consistent amount of time and you've built it to what it is and you can sustain it and you can maintain it, then that's when you can go work on something else. It's really hard to balance everything. Have a fitness goal, have a business goal, have a relationship goal, have, to balance it all. And I think a lot of times we try to achieve that all at once. And the hard thing about that is that it's really hard to put your time to everything. So what I've noticed is that I put my time into something for a period of time. Once I've achieved it, once I've kind of maintained it, once I've been able to build a sustainable plan with it, then I move on to something else until I'm happy with that. Then I learn how to maintain it. So that's what I'm doing currently right now when it comes to my goals and the specifics of how I'm going about things. But other than that, when it comes down to, like I said, the fat loss, there's not much that I'm doing that's quote unquote sexy. I'm eating in a calorie deficit. I'm eating adequate nutrients. I am making sure that I have enough protein, enough fruits and veggies, that I'm not crash dieting, that I'm still lifting weights, I'm still trying to work on progressive overload, all the simple things. And the reason why I wanted to vocalize it is because this industry can be very, this industry can be very misunderstood sometimes, and there's a lot of things that are being sold that are quick fixes. And my goal with these things that I'm pursuing are to, take my time with it, but also enjoy the journey of it. I think we tend to look at our end goal and we want it right away, but what we miss is that we actually miss the whole part of the journey to get there. We miss the part of enjoying the process of getting there to be able to actually, sustain the goals and sustain the product that we want to achieve. And I find actually this, not the slower it takes, but the more time that you're patient with it, the better and the longer you'll be able to sustain it, and the better in the long term you're going to be able to actually keep what you have received. If that's your business, if that's your fitness goal, if that's a financial goal, usually the quick things, the quick fixes are usually lead to quick loss. So if you're trying to, pursue anything quickly, I've always found that taking a step back and just enjoying the journey of the process of getting to that point, it will save you a lot of time later on. We look at it as like we do it all now in 3 months and then we have it right away, but then we end up losing it. Where if you take a little bit longer, you'll actually have it for long term. And instead of just looking for the instant gratification right now, look how long how long are you going to actually be able to pursue it? How long are you going to be able to maintain it? And that will lead to better success long term. Again, I'm speaking from my experience. There's some people that might have tried a quick fix, and still seen success and still been able to maintain. But I've seen too many people fail by doing quick fixes. I've seen too many people do a quick fix and then they just end up losing all what they've tried to achieve. And that's really defeating. I've been there. I've actually done it in the past. My first year of losing body fat, I lost 70 pounds, and I really bounced back. I rebounded hard. I went from 240 to 170 in my first year, and I'm now back to about 220. I'm not even close to the body fat percentage that I was when I was 220. I have a lot more muscle as well, but it took me a long time to find that pattern. And the biggest thing that I noticed was that I was just trying to speed up the process, try to get things done super quick, try to achieve it as quick as I can. And all it did for me was, lead me to, like I said, dig myself a deeper and deeper hole. So it took a while for me to get out of it, find routine, find what works. But I also have, like I said, neglected a little bit of that these last few years. And this time I just really want to work on my goal for myself. And I think if you're someone who's going through a business adventure, a fitness venture, that it is okay to go towards something that makes you happy. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a lot to be able to build what you want to build, but at the same time, you can always come back and you can always pursue that goal again as well. So that's just kind of my mindset on my goals right now. I hadn't chatted really about business goals. Business goals, just, yeah, like I said, maintain, try to help as many people as I can. I've shifted a lot how I do my nutrition. I've shifted a lot how I do my personal training. With the world that we live in now, things are more and more expensive. So, to be able to adapt and shift and be able to try and still provide value and still be able to give people more of your time, but be able to strategically shift it where it can be a little bit more cost effective for them, will in the long term be able to help more people, because you're going to be able to provide more value for them. Not everyone can afford personal training, not everyone can afford nutrition coaching, not everyone can afford specific gym memberships. Like there's a lot of things that that we live in nowadays that are going to shift how we're going to be able to adjust. And I'm not saying that you're not going to succeed if you can't afford those things. It's just more of like, how will you adapt as the individual? How will you learn how to work with what you have, and be able to adapt as needed? So when I started this new business venture, by shifting, semi-private personal training, incorporating my app, making sure that, I was able to incorporate different values for people at different price ranges, different, fitness levels, different coaching options, so that everyone has an option to be able to pursue something that they've always pursued with a professional helping them. Not everyone has the opportunity to do that, like I said. So one thing that I really liked that I started incorporating, and that was actually a big success, was my step challenge. So if you was a part of it, I will be doing another step challenge, and I will be, trying to do them quarterly. I think it was really cool to get people out, posting their steps, doing their walks, doing their things, and I always have a little prize for the winner. And yeah, it was cool. It was a cool, community building thing, and it was cool to have friends compete against each other. And I even was in it, and people were trying to beat my steps and compete like that. So there's little things that I'm trying to add in to, get people to be able to join and enjoy it, and be able to actually have the opportunity to see the value of what is being incorporated in the fitness and nutrition space. So that kind of to do with my training, I guess my nutrition coaching, things that I've shifted would be just the way, I communicate a message to people. I've been really honing in lately on habit building with people and long-term success. As a nutrition coach, the difficulties of nutrition is that you, as an individual, are trying to sell a message that isn't the most attractive thing. Nutrition is not an attractive, sexy topic to talk about. It's pretty mundane. It's pretty basic. The things that you see online that people are selling that are like the new best thing. It's, The basics are what it comes down to. And, it's very tempting to, as a coach, it's very tempting to see these things and want to adapt to using them because you feel as the individual, you're like, well, the things that I'm trying to vocalize, the things that I'm trying to communicate, how can I say them in a way that attracts people, but still comes across as the message that I want to send? Because, it's easy for a coach to go on to the next fad diet. It's easy for a coach to advertise, a specific new fad or new exercise or new drug or whatever it is. But I think the big thing, the integrity of a specific coach, and I'm talking about coaches in general, and I'm just talking about who I am as well as a person, but I really value that you give the right information to people, even if it isn't something that is going to be a huge selling point. I think the biggest thing as a nutrition coach or a personal trainer is that, it's easy to get, like I said, it's easy to get out of that mindset of what your true purpose of actually why you started. When you become quote unquote successful as a trainer, when you can make it your full-time job, and you start to see money coming in, I always try to remind trainers and try to remind myself, like, why did I even start this in the first place? Did I start it because I wanted to make money, or did I want to start it because I wanted to help people? And the shift that I tend to see with trainers that are always, and again, no matter what your profession is, you're going to have to make some money, you're going to have to make a living. But if you come down to the basis of you just want to help people and you just want people to get better and you want people to feel better and you want people not to feel like how you felt as a coach, like that's why I started, is I didn't know what I was doing when I started. I have athletes, I have people that I train now that started a lot younger than I did when I was starting my journey, and the things that I'm able to teach them, they're going to now be able to use for the rest of their life. They're going to be able to, enjoy and understand, like, this isn't just a quick fix. This is how it works. This is how you're able to adapt with it and see the differences that come with it. Goes a long way when you are giving back to someone that started when you were younger and you're like, oh wow, like if I would have learned this when I was younger, who knows where I would be now. But I always look at that as like, if I never had learned these things by myself with trial and error and not understand, I don't know if I would actually be here to this day to be able to talk about this and actually, explain this. I've been doing nutrition and I've been doing fitness, nutrition not as long, but fitness for about a decade. So I've seen a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've seen people that, are still with me to this day. And it's just really cool to see the individuals that are able to sustain a lifestyle that you help them build. And as a coach, I always look at it as like, I never actually did that for them. I was a guide towards their journey. The individual had to show up. They had to make sure that they understood how much protein and had to be the ones to consume it every day. They had to be the one going to do their workout. They're the ones that had to make sure they got their steps in. They're the ones that had to make sure they get their water in. But if I, as the individual, can speed that process up by knowing all the information I know and being able to give a plan for you to do it and make sure that you just have to follow that plan and be there as a support, long term, I know that it's going to be a lot easier for someone than them having to research all about it, having to do this trial and error, because that's what I did. So if I can save a year, 2 years, 3 years on someone's journey, well, that saves them a lot of time as well, because as you become healthier, as you become someone who's you're quote unquote a different identity than you were before, you're going to see a lot more value in understanding that your quality of life is going to change. I think we as individuals, or most people starting fitness, they always usually start with a physical goal. Like, I want to lose fat, I want to look different, I want to, be someone that doesn't look like this now. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with starting like that, but you got to ask yourself, like, what else is lacking from your life currently? Do you have low energy? Do you have poor sleep? Do you, are you tired all the time? Are you, you know, are you anxious all the time? Are you, like asking yourself these signs, and these signs could be dealt with lack of exercise, lack of nutrients. So when you can shift that and you can shift someone's quality of life at the end of the day, it goes such a long way. Like, I don't think people understand sometimes that your quality of life, when that changes and you're able to do more and you're able to, do things more with your kids, your friends, yourself, go on a hike, go on a walk without pain, like it's a freedom that not everyone has. And as we're progressing through this, and as we're progressing through a world that there's a lot of overconsumption of calories and there's a lack of exercise, you're going to start to see a lot of split between, there's always going to be a little bit of a middle ground, but you're going to see one extreme or the other. And I think a big thing as coaches, trying to communicate how to live what we would call a balanced lifestyle. And I know that's thrown out so much, and I know that's like super easy for me to say, what does balance look like? But at the end of the day, the understanding of balance for me is, what are you going to actually enjoy with what you do, with your goals, your life, or whatever? But also, what are you willing to sacrifice at the end of the day? No matter if you love your job, you love your body, how it is, whatever, you're going to have to make some sort of sacrifice no matter what. There's going to be something you have to sacrifice to be able to achieve that goal. And if you're someone who has a tough time reflecting on these things, these are just some questions to ask yourself. Like, what do you want out of this journey? What do you really want at the end of the day? Because a lot of people that start out by losing body fat and they're like, I just want to do it quickly, I want to do it now. If once I am able to kind of slow things down for them and they're starting to see different things change before they're starting to see, quote, maybe their body changing right away, like, oh wow, this is actually, I didn't realize how lack of energy I had. I didn't realize that my joints were sore. I thought this was my normal. Like, a lot of people, how they feel currently within themselves is they think it's normal to feel super tired. They think it's normal to feel no energy. They think it's normal to have no libido. They think it's normal to not be able to walk a kilometer. Like, it's something that they've built to create in their lifestyle. And for people that are listening to this, and if this is where you're at now, you can change it. It will take time, though. I always want to kind of make that very apparent, that it will take some time, and that you will, at the end of the day, have to work really hard to get out of the habits that you've created. But you are able to shift, and it doesn't mean you have to be a pro athlete or that you have to be doing extreme things, but adapting a lifestyle where you consume more protein, consume more vegetables, consume more fruit, consume more water, work out 2 to 3 times a week, go for walks. Like, it's an identity shift. And a lot of people, when they start, they need to look at their identity as, who do I identify as now as the individual? Do I identify as someone who eats a lot of fast food? Do I identify as someone who doesn't exercise? Do I, and they just let that identity kind of consume them, where, the first thing that you can actually do when you're working towards your goal is identify as someone who does work out. I identify as someone who does go on walks. I identify as someone who does eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. And you can shift that before you even get to that point. Even before you start doing the habits, you can start to really believe that you can be something different than what you are now. And you might along the way, when you change lifestyles, you change how you go about things. You might not have the same friends anymore. You might have a different circle, group of people that you hang out with. You might do different activities than you used to. You might not go out on Saturday night anymore. You might, you might go to bed early, sleep in, and go to the gym on Sunday instead of sleeping in until 1 o'clock. Like, there might be some things that change, but I think we get scared when those things happen because we are nervous of what the outcome of what other people around us are going to say. And I think if you can, as the individual, really take in that you're going to be able to do this, and if this is going to make you happy at the end of the day, then that's cool. That's awesome. But too, at the end of the day too, if you don't want to change and you're happy being how you are, like, that's okay too. There's no one's going to force you to do it. And if you accept it, and that's okay too. Like, there's no judgment either way. I just know as an individual how I've had some people come to me and how I see them now, and how much of a difference they see in their life. Not just their physique, how they look, but like their quality of life has changed. And that is really cool to see. That is something that I've really enjoyed to be able to see as a coach. Is like, that's the coolest thing, is to see someone like just totally shift how they do things, and totally shift how they go about, their lifestyle now. And it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, there's going to be a lot of change, but at the other side of change is going to be the person that maybe you've always wanted to be. You might have been neglecting your health, like I chatted a little bit about at the beginning, where I neglected my health to build my business. And I think looking back at it, is I'm not disappointed or I'm not mad at myself for doing it, but I knew along the way that I was doing it, and I was very aware of it. Doesn't mean that it was the right choice. I don't take it back, but at least I knew. Like, I knew that I didn't have a ton of energy to do the things that I wanted to do when it came to my fitness goals, and I sacrificed that to be able to build something that I am also proud of building too. But I know now that for me to make that shift, I had to do things in my business to be able to actually shift it, so I can do things that are going to help me towards my goals and towards my health. So I know I rambled a lot there, and I just wanted to touch on this. This episode, like I said, episode 20 was just kind of a random episode. I was just going to see kind of how my tangent went, and what I wanted to talk about, and that, some updates on what's going to look like in the future for North Star. But I just plan to keep giving some value, keep providing podcasts, keep being able to, help out in any way I can. And if you stayed this long, thank you so much for listening. But I'm going to end it off here. You have a good, it's like 30 minutes, so 30-minute listen. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening to episode 20 of the North Star podcast with me. If you want to ask me any fitness questions, you can ask me on here, or you can email me upnorthathletics@gmail.com, or check out my Instagram @upnorthathletics. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much.